Hello, fellow bandits and or bookworms. My name is DEIDRE. Welcome to or back to my channel. And today we are celebrating both good news and weird news. Weird news? Bad news. I don't know. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just, a thing. Good news is my dad just texted me that he is officially cancer free. As far as things go, we have had a wild last few months where he has been dealing with prostate cancer, but I know he watches all of my videos. So I just wanted to say, I love you, Dad, and I'm really happy to hear that you are cancer free. But the real reason I am filming this video for you today is because about a week ago, I finished Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. And it was it's going to be hard to beat this one this year, I think. It is my fourth read of the year. I'm filming this on January 17th, and I'm now in a book slump because I started off my year so strong. I started with 2 4 stars and 2 5 stars. So what do you do when you enter a book slump? It really depends on the person is the short answer. I'm sorry if you were coming here for some secret technique that no other booktuber has come up with, that here's what you do when you're in a book slump and it'll magically cure you. That doesn't exist. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own ways of dealing with it. Right now, I'm currently reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I can tell that it's a good book, and I can tell that I enjoy it, and I can tell that I would like it. But in about 5 days, I've only managed to get 144 pages in. Having read 4 books in the first 12 days of the year and then hitting this one and taking 5 days to get through it tells me that I'm hitting a bit of a slow spot. So if I want to keep up my pacing for 2024's goal of 100 books, I need to figure out a way to get through this book in a quick manner. So what am I going to do about it? One of the things that I've done in the past that I try to give myself some grace about is to just let the book slump pass and just mood read, which is why if you look at my footage of my reading journal, you'll see that there are months where I only read 2 or 3 books when other months I read 12 or 13. And that's because that month I was either super busy or didn't have a lot going on or whatever the thing may be for whether it was high or low. This year, I've started up a yearly collections journal as well. And my word of the year is consistent. And that's because I have ADHD, which I've talked about a couple of times here before. I also deal with anxiety and depression, as I feel like many of us from our generation do. And I need a way to deal with those emotions in a way that allows me some form of a routine. So I'm trying to go for consistency. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to read exactly 10 books every month, and that is the thing. No, I just don't want to have as big of a delta between my reading goals. I'd rather my line look more like this instead of like this. What am I going to do to get myself out of this reading slump so that I can hopefully hit all of my goals for my TBR this year? Well, there's a couple of things. If I just let it pass, it's probably going to be another couple of weeks before I'm really feeling like picking up another book again, which isn't going to work for me. I have way too many books I want to get through. I am so excited about these books, but for some reason, I'm struggling to get to them. So what am I going to do? Well, one option that I'm not going to do with this book, but that I've done in the past is to just DNF or soft DNF the book. For those of you who are new or might not know, DNF stands for do not finish or did not finish. I have different tags for this on Goodreads where I have like a soft DNF or a DNF with no second chances because I hard DNF'd it. I hated the book. I only have done that with a couple of books so far, but I just, sometimes they're just not for you, and that's okay. I very much stand by the DNF is self-care mentality, and I think we should all take that in a little bit more than we do. However, I don't want to DNF this book. I'm liking it. I'm just not reaching for it, which I need to figure out how to get myself to reach for it more. So the next thing that I recommend is to try to read a book. For me, I like to have things off of my task lists or off of my things to do. So I like seeing that bar on my Goodreads reading challenge go up. What is something that I can do to help that bar go up? I can read a graphic novel, a manga, or a light novel. All of these are valid reading options, and they're things I can get through in a couple of hours a lot of the time. And if I really want to go back through and read them with more care for the art and stuff like that, I can do that, but at least then I'll get to check it off my list. Even if I want to take the time and go through it in a day, I can. So graphic novels, they are exactly how they sound, right? They're stories that are graphic. They're essentially a fancy comic, more or less, right? I'm sure that if you are familiar with BookTube, you've seen Heartstopper, you've heard of Heartstopper. I unfortunately only have the first volume of this, but I'm planning on getting more. I've read all 4 of them because Kira has them and I read them. I went over to their house and said, I'm reading Heartstopper. That's why I'm here. And they said, okie dokie. And that's what I did. This is a valid option for graphic novels. Same thing for manga. It's the same sort of deal. They're easy to get through. Their volumes are pretty short usually. You can get through them pretty quickly. It's a lot of art and a lot of easy to flip through space. Now, I do recommend that both for graphic novels and for manga, you take the time to really look at the art because it's incredible a lot of the time. Just look at this cover. I mean, I talked about it in my last video, but also this one, for example, is on my TBR for this month. So I can knock it out, get another book on my list, and then go from there. That's something that I'm considering doing right now too. The other thing I mentioned is a light novel, which I don't hear a lot of people talking about. A lot of people talk about manga more than they talk about light novels. And these are Japanese a lot of the time, but they're novels, but they're quick little reads. So this is one that I got for Christmas 2 years ago from Kira. This is Ascendance of a Bookworm, Volume 1, Part 1, or Part 1, Volume 1. It is about a girl who is book obsessed. I think she's in college, and she essentially gets isekai'd into this other world, and she ends up being this kind of malnourished child, like 5-year-old child, and being in her body. And it's like a medieval kind of fantasy kind of world, it seems like. Books don't really exist for her because she is in a kind of peasant family, and it's about her resolve to get books. This is another one that I can tear through in a day because it's a pretty easy read and it's fun and cute and quirky. There's other options for things to read as well, other than just quick reads, right? This is probably my most successful way of getting myself out of a book slump are my quickie reads, because they feel like I've accomplished something, and rather than being like, God, I just cannot get through this thing, I get through something else and then I feel motivated again to pick up and go and keep going. But sometimes people aren't into this kind of stuff. Some people really aren't into graphic novels or manga or light novels, for example. I know that the writing style of Ascendance of a Bookworm got to me a little bit when I was getting to it because it got really repetitive and it felt a little juvenile while I was reading it, but it was still really cute. And again, I could tear through it really easily. So the other thing that I recommend doing is potentially reading a romance novel. So these are two of my backlist romances that I have. Wildfire just came out last year. Terms and Conditions came out before that. Oh, I missed my 50% off a cookie. Well, so these are both the second in a series of romance novels that I've been reading. This is The Dreamland Billionaires. This is Maple Hills. I've read both of the first books in the series for these. Obviously, they're romances, so they operate as anthologies and you can read them in whatever order. But I like to go in order because frequently there's references back to the previous couple in the second books in the series. So, but these are also easy options. Romances tend to be really easy reads for me, so this is where I tend to go. I also tend to tear through them in a day or two, so that's what we do. It also, when it comes to reading these, the reason why I don't have like Mile High on this list, even though it is on my TBR for this month, is because if I read one of these, it progresses a series that I'm in the middle of, which also gives me that extra sense of accomplishment, right? So the theme here, if you haven't guessed, is to feel accomplished by the time you're done with the book. You want to feel that sense of accomplishment because what's the point otherwise? And then the last option as far as reads go that I recommend, but I also have never really done this myself, so I could see where the merits are, but I can also see how it might not go into the same narrative that I've been pushing as far as accomplishment goes, and that is to reread a favorite, right? Six of Crows is probably one of my favorite books of all time. Me and the other bandits on the channel are planning on getting a tattoo of basically this design as much as we can. Hopefully soonish. You know you're gonna like this book. I know I tore through Six of Crows when I first read it, but whatever that favorite is for you, you can always reread it. You can always go back to it and just remember what it's like to really, really enjoy reading. Again, I've never really done this myself because I want that sense of accomplishment that doesn't really exist by putting a reread on there, especially if it wasn't on your TBR. However, if there is a reread on your TBR for the month, that's a perfect time to use it. But these books, they're favorites, so you know you're gonna like it, so there's no risk. The other thing that I do that doesn't have anything to do with reading is to watch booktube videos. Maybe you're here because you're in a book slump. Hello. If you're not in a book slump and you're just here, also hello. But if you're here because you're trying to figure out what you want to do with yourself now that you're in a book slump, those are some ways to do it. Go watch a TV show that you've wanted to do. Get yourself into some form of media that will help you progress your goals. That is generally speaking the best way for me to do it. And when I'm talking about all of these things that I recommend them for people like me who, when they feel a sense of accomplishment for doing something. I'm talking to the people who like to have to-do lists that they check off. I'm talking to the people who might be materialistic like I am and admire new possessions when they get them. I know who I am as a person. Maybe rearrange your furniture if you have the option to. Whatever that might be for you, to just give yourself a little bit of a fresh look on something, go to the gym, anything that can give you that feeling of, okay, I did a thing, can help you get out of that slump. It might be easier for you to do that than you think. The other thing that I find myself doing especially is cleaning. If I clean a room and get it to look nice. So for example, before I filmed this, I cleaned my room because I didn't want to present what a garbage monster I really am. There's a reason that a trash panda is the mascot for this channel. It helps me to feel like I did something and feel good about the space that I'm in. So that's where I am. And I also have tried really hard I know that there are people who just clean the space that they're going to be filming in. So there is one little pile off to the side here that you can't see that's on my like work desk. That is just like a pile of craft paper. But the only reason that's there is because I don't really have a home for it right now. So everything else went into its spot. Everything else has a home. All of that got cleaned up before I ever started filming because I wanted to make sure I was in a clean space and reset. I vacuumed my floor. I did a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, this is just a short little quickie video to help you with that, because also making this video is a way to help me get out of my book slump right now. I am going to probably read the case study of Vanitas, which you saw footage of me doing probably, but also I just desperately need to get out of this book slump because I have so many other books I want to read. And it's also possible that I hit lessons in chemistry and it was so good. And then I also started the audiobook of Snow Falling on Cedars, and the audiobook's okay, but I'm just not getting into it as much as I did the audiobook for The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I just finished. So I might just need to transition to my Kindle for that one and just read that on Kindle because I'm liking the story. It's just the audiobook's not capturing me. There's a bunch of different factors that can go into leading you into a book slump. So it's very possible that I've got 2 books right now that just aren't as good as the 2 I just read. And so I'm not feeling great about it, but they're also still good books. I'm just not feeling it because they're coming after something so good. That's it for this video. I will be updating in a couple of weeks with my January reading wrap up. But in the meantime, I hope you are practicing safe text. Bye.